to record. And so the sooner we can get that out of the way, then we can start on time. I think we have about 3 more to do, but thanks for your help. And remember, if you want to ask a question, go down to the bottom right corner where the 3 dots are on More and raise your hand. Gabe, I think we got everybody.
Okay, let's give it another minute so everybody can get ready. So 4:02, we'll probably start talking. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's about 4:02. I think we got everybody in we needed to get for the permissions for recording. My name is Gabriel Sterling. I am the Voting System Implementation Manager for the state of Georgia. Just got off a nearly hour-long call with our counties to kind of go over some of the processes and procedures we're going to be doing for the upcoming recount. The big headlines on that one are that they need to begin tomorrow at 9. They cannot begin any sooner than that. And they need to be wrapped up and end by midnight on Wednesday, December 2nd. One of the issues we have with this situation is right now we have Thanksgiving on Thursday and actual elections going on Tuesday in several of our counties around the state. So we're trying to take that into account. We've given them the specific procedures of how to do logic and accuracy testing, which follows the 100 test deck I've been talking about, and the ways that they need to make sure they keep their provisionals all together, their absentee in person or early voting all together, the absentee by mail all together, and the election day all together. And then we can still report by precinct and by ballot type. There were several questions again around, specific procedures. How do we do this? What's a batch? It's renaming things when we run it through. And we had reps from the vendor, Dominion there, and our staff, and kind of walk through a lot of that. And we sent out some spreadsheets and lots a lot more forms because I have to do the same custody tracking with each one of these things. We anticipate some will be working over the weekend. And as far as the costs go, officially right now it is a county cost. But as I said before, we're working with them to do a cost sharing thing based out of our HAVA dollars. So I reemphasized to them that the biggest cost obviously is personnel, and they need to keep a separate accounting of that when we try to look for a way that we can potentially do a cost sharing on that using our federal Help America Vote Act dollars. So that's the biggest highlights. They got to begin tomorrow morning by 9. They can't begin any earlier than that, but beginning can also be if they're organized and getting the people lined up, because we want to make sure we have a lot of notice go out so that the monitors can be there and the adjudication teams can be lined up, especially if they're going to be doing the absentee votes first, because those are the ones that are most likely that need to be needing adjudication. And we've asked them to reach out to their local parties. Unlike the audit, and we made sure that this time they're going to let us know so we can have a centralized location of where we're going to be able to show these things are happening. And instead of giving we'll begin at 9 a.m. on Wednesday and end at midnight on the following Wednesday or Tuesday, begin at 9 a.m. on Tuesday and end at midnight the following Wednesday. We're now saying they need to be more discreet about when the actual work will be going on, because especially in smaller counties, it's harder to get monitors there to make sure they can keep the process viewable and public, because the whole key to this is transparency. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start taking any questions you might have. That's the biggest change from earlier, is that we've given them these specific deadlines and what they have to do. So Walter, who's up?
Well, the first one out of the chute is Dave Wickert again. So
he's quick on the draw. I've noticed that.
Hey, Mr. Sterling. I'm assuming that you will not be releasing results again until the count is complete. Is that right?
Well, actually, in this case, it's a different situation. In the audit, you're trying not to hit a specific mark. So in this case, what's going to happen is when they are done with their results within the county, we have to set up a different election program inside the EMS and on the ICC scanner. So they're going to take those results, load them into the EMS, and put them into a new election night reporting page that we're building out right now. So you could potentially see, it's not going to be like on election night when you're getting partial results as you go through the night. It's going to basically be, here's everything from one county, here's everything from another county. That's the way it looks like it's going to be right now. There's nothing saying they can't give you partial results as they go, but I think it would be a lot safer and easier just to give the entire account from each county as it goes. But as you can imagine, it means the smaller counties will come in first. Smaller counties in the state tended to go for President Trump. But again, we're going to be looking for making sure it's lining up with what those county results originally were. So it's a different set of rules around an audit versus a recount. So I think as they come into us, we will probably upload it periodically, maybe twice a day or something. We haven't really made that decision, but it will not be everything all at once at one time. It'll be as the counties get them in, we look at it, sanity check it, and then we will release it on our election night reporting page.
And you wouldn't expect, though, the outcome of the election to change a third time around?
We had the initial count. We had an audit to confirm that initial count. We had a difference in ballots of 0.1053% and a different margin of 0.0099%. So, and that's with human error involved. So my assumption is when we use the machines again, we should be hitting right about the same number about ballot difference, about 12,000. I'm now getting dyslexic in my brain, 670 or 760. I can't remember what it is right now. But there is adjudication involved. So there is going to be a human element on some of these ballots potentially that could potentially change the outcome as well.
When you say change the outcome,
I see the outcome, change the margin by 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. I mean, we don't know exactly what it'll be, but when you're dealing with human beings doing this again, handling this paper for another time, there's always that possibility. And I say change the outcome, I'm not saying about changing the winner. I'm talking about changing potential margins within a precinct or within a county.
Sure. And what will be the final? What will be the final official results? I want to make sure I understand which count gets counted.
As I understand it, this count under the code of Georgia will be the certified version of the count.
And if y'all could get what is the official margin right now? If you could get that, I'd appreciate it.
I had it earlier, and then I questioned myself, and let me take a look. Bear with me a second. All right. 74,507 minus 61,837, 12,670.
12,670. Thank you.
12,670. All right. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Next, we have Zach Montalero.
Yeah. Hey, Gabe. Sorry. Pretty dumb question. When you say midnight on November or December 2nd, that is Wednesday going into Thursday, correct?
That is Wednesday going into Thursday. This is essentially the same deadline we had for the hand audit.
Got it. Just wanted to double check that. That's it. Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks.
All right. Stephen Fowler.
Hey, Gabe. Got a couple questions for you. First, with the results, Georgia reports its results down to the precinct level. And so will we be able to see with this recount the variations at the precinct level with the reporting?
Yes, because there's basically indicators on each one of the ballots as to what precinct it was assigned to. So we should be able to track that along. And that's why we're also doing it in those 4 separate buckets to make sure that everything lines up on ballot style within the precinct itself as well.
Right. And then, in regards to transparency and monitoring, there's been a lot of confusion and misinformation about how these things are counted. So what exactly, can you just explain again, what exactly the counties will be doing for the next week and who is allowed to watch what and in this process?
All right. So for this process, it's a little bit different than the auditing process because it's a much more compact kind of thing. It's not as spread out as we saw in the hand audit. Most counties will have one machine going. And I think the rule that we set up, wasn't the rule, but the interpretation we put out in the official election bulletin today was a minimum of 2 monitors per party per location, plus for any more than 2 central scanners, you get an additional 1 monitor per party. So that includes libertarians. They can be up to 3 additional monitors at a time per central scanning unit. And they can watch the process. They can't be intrusive. They're just there to make sure that the ballots are being handled properly. They're going through that scanner. They can watch the LNA process to make sure the scanner is counting properly, because that's got to be done publicly. We really want to make sure that that's done in a transparent way. And then separate from those people, you essentially have 3 teams. You have the recount team. The recount team are the county employees and sworn registrars who can touch ballots, and they're going to be running things through the ICC. Then you have the official party and campaign monitors who will be there, who can watch over the process to make sure that it's functioning in a fair and transparent way. And then you have the adjudication teams, which follow the same rules we had before. There'll be 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, and 1 election worker for any potential ties on any ballot where the initial ballot artifact, you cannot divine the intent of the voter easily from the first round. It'll kick it out. It's the same thing on this machine. Most people will be doing electronic adjudication. So there'll be overvotes, stray marks that are in the marginal marks, and then I think write-ins have to be looked at as well. But those are the different teams of people that are there, and 2 groups will have partisans in it to have a role in the process when it comes to adjudication, and then the other group will be the monitors to make sure the process is being run fairly and report back to their own people of the party. So I hope that kind of lays it out for you. There should be a lot of monitors for this one.
Yeah, and then can we get the election bulletin with the instructions? I think that would be helpful to have in explaining this. And then one more thing, I really hate to ask this, but it's floating around out there that somehow the state election board is making it where people can't register to vote unless they own a car. So can you please address
If you are
that?
registered to vote, you're already registered to vote. You don't have to re-register. You don't have to own a car in order to vote. This is one of those things where that is one of the things that an election worker can look at to see if you live where you say you live, is your car registration, because that's an official government document. No one is being disenfranchised, but we have asked the counties to make sure they follow the law, both the spirit and the letter, so that people aren't just moving here to vote and then going away again. One of the ways to do that is there's several different pieces of ID they can look at to verify where you live. And that's what that was about. The SCB literally changed nothing this morning. All they said to do is for our office to send an official election bulletin saying, read the law, understand your responsibilities, and know that, people have to have some level of proof that they actually do live where they say they live. But that doesn't seem very unreasonable in a time like this.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
All right, next is Corsi.
Hey, Gabriel, and it's coarse, but that's fine. I was wondering if you could confirm that this will be done by machine, because obviously some people have said they want a hand recount. And then secondly, kind of re-asking the question of whether you think this will change the actual outcome of who won. You were pretty clear about that during the hand audit.
Well, it will all be done by machine. The law defines part of that, and the SCB rules specific about we use the central scanners to rescan all the ballots in the county. Or central scanners, you have multiple ones of those. And those final results will be the final results that are certified if there's a change. Now, the possibility of it changing, it's 2020, you never know. Crazy things happen, but the likelihood is very low. We don't expect it to change, but you never know for certain. The hand recount, we didn't do a recount before. That was a hand audit in a risk limiting environment. So that was a different set of rules, different statute we were operating under. This is a very specific statute. So we're not going to make people do hand tallies again. This is the system that was intended to be used for an actual recount post-certification.
Okay, we have Lecrae Mitchell.
Lecrae, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, great. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm okay. I got coffee now. It's been a long few days.
Yeah, I'm sure. I had 2 questions. The first is just, I know you just said no changes were made from that state board meeting this morning. I just want to go over again, because I know earlier we'd said something about the absentee ballots now being did I get this right? They're mandatory now to have to start processing them 8 days before instead of like counties having the option. I just wanted to make sure I got
what I was
all the
saying,
takeaways.
McCrae, was that when it came to the residency, there was 3 agenda items. They moved on the first 2. They realized after talking to the Attorney General's office, the third one, the residency, the law was already there. We just wanted to put a reminder to the counties to follow that law. The first thing we did in the SCB meeting this morning was to extend the drop boxes because that was an emergency rule. And the second thing was what you just laid out. We still allow them to begin scanning 15 days out, which is basically the 3 Mondays before the election. But they shall begin to scan that second Monday before the election, which is 8 days out. We just wanted to make sure that people are taking full advantage so they can be caught up by the time they get to election day and only be doing election day ballots that come in through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning.
Got it. And then my second question, I think I missed the top of the call. I heard someone say something about a December 2nd midnight deadline.
Yes.
So did you give timing? And if you could you just recap the timing on this recount? I'm sorry.
They may begin scanning tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on what is tomorrow morning? Even it's Tuesday the 24th at 9 a.m. They have to give notice both on their website, publicly post there, let our office know so we can post it as well. We want to make sure monitors and the public has a right to go see these things. They have to be done with this by midnight on December 2nd. That's midnight going from December 2nd, Wednesday, into Thursday, December 3rd. So they have a full Wednesday to get done. And we did that with the full knowledge that obviously Thanksgiving is on Thursday, and that many of our counties, including 3 large ones, Clayton, Fulton, and DeKalb, will be running an actual election on Tuesday, the 1st.
Okay, next is Quinn Scanlon.
Hey, Gabe. Just a quick clarification. Like the audit, do counties have to start with the absentee ballots during the recount, or is that just a suggestion?
That's a suggestion, and we're going to give them some flexibility because, especially in smaller counties, you can't always get the adjudication teams together at the exact time you want them. So we're going to give them some flexibility in that. They can't get the adjudication team together to go ahead and start on the things that don't really need to be adjudicated, which would be the ballot marking device produced ballots.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's my only question.
Who's next?
Bo Evans.
Hi, Gabe.
Hey, Bo.
Could you go over in whatever way is reasonable what elections are going to be on December 1st?
Special elections. And the ones that jump out of my brain real quickly are the special election to fill the remainder of John Lewis's seat in Congressional 5, the special Democratic primary to fill State Senate 39 that was vacated by Congresswoman Nikema Williams, or Congresswoman-elect Nikema Williams now, the Western District DA's race, which covers Clark and Oconee County. And I know there's some various other ones in counties around the state. I want to say 7 or 8 counties. If you email Walter and Ari, we'll get you the rest of those lists. But those are the 3 big ones I know people have mainly been talking about.
Okay.
All right. Of course, Ken has one.
Yeah, follow-up questions. This is probably a dumb question, but just confirming, this is just recounting the state presidential vote. So the 5 million again. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, there's also one local race in a county, I don't know what it is, that they are within the 0.5% too. So we're going to use the same system to allow them to account for that one as well. But that's the only other one I'm aware of is the presidential race is within the 0.5%, and they requested the recount. And one local one, I'll try to track that down and let Walter and Ari know so they can get that answer to you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Kate Brunback.
Hi, Gabe.
Okay.
For the notification requirement, as far as when they're going to be counting, so is it like they have to say, we're going to be counting from 2 to 4 on Wednesday, and I don't know, do they have to give specific windows for exactly when they're counting?
We've asked them to make it more discreet than basically giving the entire timeline that they might count in, because obviously it's very frustrating for monitors if nothing's happening. So we're trying to make them do a little bit better on being specific about it going forward.
Okay, and how are they supposed to make that public?
Their website, they can post it outside their place, and they're supposed to send a notification to us so we can put it on our website as well.
Okay, thanks.
Jay Morris.
Jay, or Mr. or Miss Morris? You're unmuted, so you can talk unless your microphone's not working right. Oh, you're muted again. Try unmute one more time. Morris? Okay, Walter, then we have to come back to that one. Let's go with maybe Sarah is next, I think.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah Campbell, Noonan Times Herald. I know we're talking about the recount. Is it okay if I ask a non-recount related question?
I'm standing here, so why not? I got to tell you I'm sitting. So
I see so many people claiming that they got all these unsolicited absentee ballots in the mail. Now, I'm assuming they really mean they got applications. Have you had any instances of people actually receiving unsolicited absentee ballots in the mail? It's just
there's two things at play when it comes to that particular situation. As you pointed out, the vast majority of these are when they're getting dozens and dozens of absentee ballot applications from, different third parties, campaigns, political parties. Then there's a secondary thing that happened when we came out of the June primary. We had the absentee ballot applications went out to all the active voters. There is a box on there that says if you're over 65, you can get onto the rollover list, which means that you get a ballot every single time there is an election as part of that process, as a part of that regular election season. It doesn't apply to specials, but it applies to everything else. So all the runoffs, all the primaries, everything. So what happened is a lot of people were just 65 or over and just checked that box because, yes, I'm 65 or over, not realizing they were then asking for a ballot for the remainder of the year. And a lot of people got these like, I didn't ask for this ballot this time, but they actually did. But they just didn't know that's what they were doing when they checked the box. We were able to check specifically on some of the ones that called us about it, and we saw that they were on the rollover list. They just didn't know they were on the rollover list. So those are the two different buckets we saw of people saying, I got an unsolicited absentee ballot. Does that answer your question pretty well, Sarah? Shoot. You with me? Are you still muted? I can't tell. All right, hopefully I answered your question. Do you want to try to go back to Mr. or Miss Morris again? It says you're unmuted, so give it a shot. I don't know. I guess we'll have to go with Miss Walker now. I'm sorry, Mr. or Miss Morris. If you want to try to type something into the chat, and maybe I can try to answer that.
He just texted me. We're both at CNN. So okay. I was going to ask about the details on the process to adjudicate ballots. Can you just talk a little bit about how that's going to work? Will ballots be contested by the parties on site?
Ballots cannot be contested in this process. This is not Michigan or Pennsylvania where that happens. What we have here is if the machine looks at it and says, I am not sure what this ballot meant to say, it goes to an adjudication module that they can look at it electronically. And then you have the adjudication team, which would be one Republican, one Democrat, and one election worker, all looking at it together. And it's sort of a majority rule that says we can figure out what this person means. And it has to be obvious to the regular person. And 99 times out of 100, when we've seen adjudication, everybody knows what the voter intended on these things. So there's very rarely anything that's really contentious on that front. And let's remember that only about 25% of our overall ballots are hand marked that are even going to be a question of what the voter intended, because on the ballot marking device, it is the name that they picked and it's on the ballot. So it's very easy to see and it's easily scanned, so that that's what we use to do the hand audit with to begin with. So the chances of anything really moving that much are very low. And most of the adjudication we saw in the general election was more based around the hand-marked paper ballots in the United States Senate race in the Kelly Loeffler seat with the 21 candidates. You had people who were voting for every Republican or every Democrat or every independent and not understanding the rules on that one. So I don't think we're going to see that many adjudicated ballots come out of this process.
Next, we have Emil Moffitt.
Hey, Gabe, a question about these central scanners. Can you kind of describe how they operate, how many pages ballots they can do per hour, and if you think they're up to running this continuous loop and not having any issues with them?
Well, I'm sure we're going to have to do some cleaning of them as they go. but they're designed to do this. They're designed to take this. What you don't want to do is overload them with too heavy of a stack at a time. We try to do the stack size of maybe 50 or 60 to keep running them through. And in a really efficient way, you can see them doing about probably 50 ballots a minute. I don't think we'll see it at full efficiency. It'll probably be lower than that with, trying to keep up with everything. And I said on the call today that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You don't want to rush yourself and cause mistakes and errors you have to go back and fix. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast, because the smoother you do this, the better off you're going to be. A controlled, natural stream and flow of how this should work should make that all run better. So we imagine that it should be able to handle this. I mean, they were able to handle 1.3 million scans before. They handled 1.1 million for the primary. Occasionally, they're going to need to be cleaned, especially if they're hand marked ballots. But I think they're going to do just fine.
Cool. Thanks.
Well, let's see. We have Ms. Walker again.
Sorry, quick follow-up. I'm sorry if I missed this, but in terms of the results on the scanned recount versus the hand audit, do you expect to see very little discrepancy or virtually no change at all?
Well, it's 2020, so who knows what to expect on these things. But historically, you very rarely see much movement in the vote totals that you see coming out of these things. And you're more likely to see changes in a hand audit because there's a lot more human error introduced to the process than you do through using the scanners.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the hands that are up.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out today. I am praying for our elections workers so that they can be strong to get through this, and praying that they get to have a good Thanksgiving with their families. And thank you all for helping us get the information out and keeping up the unprecedented level of transparency of this office and our county offices working together. We will all get through this. And again, I appreciate your time. I know we got some follow-ups. Just email Ari or Walter with the specific questions on those things, and we'll try to get back to you. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.